Good afternoon, all. Is my screen visible to you? Can someone confirm?
Yes, sir. It's visible.
Yeah. Okay, fine. Is there any delay? Lot of delay is there with the network?
No, sir. It's
Okay,
fine.
okay, fine. If anything you observe in between, please let me know. I think today some network issue may be there. Let us see, because morning that issue was there. Now I don't know. Okay, fine. So in our previous class, we were talking about this. I will reshare once again. Okay, now it is fine. So we are talking about the strain life equation. We have derived this equation from the basics. So this is the SN life approach, the Baskin equation, what you find here. In Baskin equation, we correlate strength. We correlate strength. So SN diagram, if you plot here to the equation, then okay. If you plot the SN diagram, that is log life and alternating stress, yes, we have known or aware about this particular SN diagram. I will just draw a two slope model, and in this slope of this curve is B. This is what we have learned from the chapter 2, and the strength coefficient here, the interceptor is what? A, the notation A. This we will assume as the true fracture strength sigma f dash. Sigma f dash. In the absence of data, we may also assume ultimate strength plus 50 KSI in terms of KSI unit. Ultimate strength in KSI plus 50. This is what is observed to be true fracture strength for the constant A, which is the strength coefficient. Fatigue strength coefficient, here it is mentioned also. Okay, so that is what we consider in the SN approach, high cycle fatigue approach. Now analogous to this, Coffin and Mansion also obtained similar relation with respect to strain. Now here you observe, earlier we used to write SNF is equal to A NF to the power B. So here N is in terms of cycles. So please don't ignore this term cycles. Here it is 2 into N. That means these are reversals. Okay, given in terms of reversals. That is very important, because in case of strain life, we require in terms of reversals rather than in terms of cycles, because of the hysteresis effect we want to account in case of strain life approach. In case of stress life approach, such effort cannot be accounted. Therefore, you will not find when we use SN approach here 2NF, but still we can use that, what we get in terms of reversals, but not much use of that number of reversals in case of SN approach. You can write in terms of reversals or in terms of cycles. Okay, but in case of strain life approach, as we have identified in the numerical what we have solved in the previous class, as you start deforming the bar or loading the bar, then you have one particular strength, and then you have to apply the hysteresis loop equation to obtain the stress at the next load point. Okay, so therefore reversal concept is much more appropriate in case of strain life approach, not in the stress life approach. Okay, so similar to now SN approach, Coffin and Mansion has also provided a relationship between plastic strain and the life. Okay, and this Coffin Mansion equation, plastic strain amplitude to the true fracture strain. This epsilon F dash is true fracture strain. Earlier we used to write Baskin equation delta sigma by 2 sigma F dash 2 NF to the power B, where B is the slope of the corresponding curve, sigma F dash or the constant A is the true fracture strength of the material. Okay. This is nothing but SA or sigma A, any one notation you may use. Alternating stress amplitude. This is nothing but here epsilon A. Strain amplitude, plastic strain amplitude to be specific. Okay. Epsilon PA, plastic strain amplitude. Epsilon F dash here is true fatigue ductility coefficient. Okay. And C, similar to the earlier discussion like SN approach, here it is a slope of the curve. So if you plot a diagram, log of life and the plastic strain and the plastic strain, similar to SN diagram, you will find a curve here. The slope of this particular curve is C. Just to differentiate from B, the notation C is shown. And the interceptor, the true fracture strain, is known to be epsilon F dash. Okay. Now, this is for the plastic strain. What about the elastic part? Elastic part we have here. Elastic. And this is plastic. Okay. So total, we know the equation for strain. It is total strain is elastic plus the plastic. So this elastic strain we have to get from the Baskin equation, elastic strain effect, and the plastic directly from the Coffin-Manson equation. Okay. So just to rearrange the Baskin equation in terms of strain to get the elastic part of the strain, in terms of strain, elastic part influence on the life. Okay. So this is the curve which we have shown in the last class. Fatigue SN diagram for a defined material, some material. Here B value is mentioned 0.09, that is slope of the curve. And strength, ultimate strength 174 KSI. Maybe for most of the steels we may assume this as true. Okay, earlier in a slide the values were mentioned. You may note this value. You may make a note of this. Usually B value lies between this range, minus 0.05 to minus 0.12, especially for the steel component. Okay. Average value most often we'll find at minus 0.08. This is common value. Here in this graph, it is shown as somewhere around 0.09. Okay, roughly, it is roughly for a defined material. Every material, this value will vary. Okay. Similarly, this is a Coffin-Manson graph, Coffin-Manson plot graph, plastic strain amplitude. Okay, here C is nothing but slope of this particular curve lies between minus 0.575 to 57. Okay, so Coffin has shown, it might from his experience experiments, Coffin showed that C value will be minus 0.5. Manson noted that C value would be minus 0.6. Okay, whereas later one more person understood that the values will be lying between this range that I think I have somewhere exact values. Maybe later I will show you. Okay, exact values, how much it can be. It can go up to 0.7 also. Okay, depending on the material. Based on this, now this is a plastic part, epsilon F dash 2 NF to the power C, plastic strain amplitude. Okay. We have to just substitute now in the total strain equation. Total strain is elastic plus the plastic. So therefore, plastic side we have the equation. So this equation we have to use. This is Baskin equation, from Baskin equation. The elastic part is from Baskin equation. Plastic part is from Coffin-Manson equation. Okay. So Baskin equation is rearranged here in terms of strain to substitute there. Okay. And then written in this form. So this is nothing but total strain amplitude is equal to elastic part plus the plastic part. Okay. This is plastic, this is elastic part. This is what is strain life equation. We discussed in our last class up to here. This equation I have shown in the previous class. Now we will proceed from here. Let us discuss further. As you know, the elastic part is by stress. So here if I say log of life. So this much epsilon f dash by E is nothing but sigma f dash elastic part, epsilon E elastic. Yeah. In the elastic region, Hooke's law prevails. Stress is proportional to the strain. Okay. So we have the elastic plot. This is elastic plot with the slope V. In the higher magnitude, this is strain here on the y-axis. Higher magnitude, you apply higher magnitude of load. Then this is the plastic graph. This equation has slope C. What is the net curve? Sigma A curve. Sigma A curve is the net effect of both. Sigma A curve is the net effect of both. So as you go towards the elastic part, that means you apply low stress amplitude or low strain amplitude. You are not operating at high stress levels, low stress or low strain levels, not much of deformation. Low load you are applying. That means we expect higher life. So in the higher life region, we talk about high cycle fatigue. And in the high cycle fatigue, you can see this blue curve approaching or dominated by the SN curve. This is your SN curve. Okay. So this is the strain life curve. Blue color is epsilon N, strain life curve. And what is this C slope curve? This is plastic strain to life curve. Plastic strain to life, not the total strain. Blue color one is the total strain to the life curve. So this blue color curve is the strain life equation represented by this equation, this entire equation. Blue color line, what I have drawn is the curve fitting or the curve of the corresponding relation shown here in equation 2.19. Okay. Whereas where I have shown the slope C, that curve belongs only to the plastic part, and the curve here shown with the slope B belongs to the elastic part of the equation. And we can observe here as the magnitude increases, the load magnitude increases, the total strain amplitude curve inclines towards the plastic strain life relationship. That means dominance of the plastic part is more, elastic part is not great. If we are operating at low load levels, low stress or low strain levels, then we expect higher life. And in the high cycle fatigue region, the life is dominated by the elastic part of the equation. So therefore the SN diagram where B slope has been shown. Okay. This is the advantage of using strain life approach. Even though it is a low cycle fatigue region, still we can adapt. Even it is high cycle fatigue region, still we can adapt. Only thing is the effect of the plastic part in high cycle fatigue region, this is approaching towards zero. The effect of this plastic part is very negligible. If we are operating in the low cycle fatigue region, that means life is less. We are applying high stress on the component during its service or high strain amplitude during its service, then expected life is less. At that time, elastic part becomes zero. Elastic part approaches towards zero. Its influence becomes zero. Ideally, it will not become zero. Theoretically, we write approaches towards zero. It is not full zero. Some cycles may require for the elastic case to overcome and become the plastic. Some load cycles are required. But usually when we say low cycle fatigue, earlier we have seen in case of Manson's double linear theory, when number of cycles are less than 730, what we have written, no cycle to initiation. Initiation life is zero. Low cycle fatigue, that means already crack is there. Whatever is there, then only NP, crack cycles to propagation. In case of high cycle fatigue, we have used this Manson's double linear rule. Okay. So this is what is the equation. The physical meaning of the equation or this graph's interpretation is like that. So here it is shown, the same curve what I have drawn there. Okay. This curve is nothing but epsilon f dash 2NF to the power C. Plastic strain amplitude part. Okay. This curve is for elastic strain amplitude. Elastic strain amplitude. So sigma f dash by E 2NF to the power B. Okay. All together is this curve, that is what is strain life equation. Strain life curve. Total strain amplitude is equal to elastic plus the plastic part. Elastic part is the nothing but the Baskin equation. In the strain expression, this is an expression for the strain. Stress by strain, stress by Young's modulus is nothing but the strain. 2NF to the power B plus the plastic part epsilon f dash into 2NF to the power C. This is what is strain life equation. Earlier, in case of Baskin equation, you are supposed to know the constant A, which is nothing but sigma f dash, and the constant B. Now, if you want to use strain life equation, in addition to this, you want to know what is C, one more constant, and as well as epsilon f dash, true fracture strain or the true ductility coefficient. How much is this? Additional effort is required. That is why strain life approach becomes more and more complex. Obtaining these data is not easy. Yes? Anyone have a query? Anybody is having a doubt? Okay. If it is by mistake, you can mute your mic. Okay, fine. Obtaining these constant is not that easy from the experiments. Okay, you can see here, as we go longer towards the life, we are going to be, or the life is dominated by the elastic part. The SN approach is totally agreeing with the strain life approach. Though each approach will give you marginally different result, comparing to the life here, maybe 10 to the power 6 or 10 to the power 5 and greater. A small number, 100 cycle variation do not matter when we talk about 10 to the power 5, 10 to the power 6 and all. So when we talk 10 lakh cycles, 1 crore cycles, 10 to the power that 100 number or 10 cycle, 30, 40 cycles, it is not a big deal, that difference. Okay. Therefore, in the very high stress, very high life region, high cycle fatigue at a much greater level, 10 to the power 5 and above, we can see SN approach and strain life approach are almost providing the similar answers, similar things. Okay, fine. So that same discussion is mentioned here. I think I have already explained all this. Okay. Now something called as transition life. Transition life. So in our previous slide, we have seen that the total strain life equation is a jugglery between elastic part and the plastic part. Okay. If we are at a very high cycle, we are using the strain life approach in the high cycle fatigue regime, dominance of elastic part is greater. If we are using it in the low cycle fatigue regime, then dominance of plastic part is greater. Now, what about both are providing 50-50% share? 50-50% share. Elastic is also providing the 50%. Plastic part is also providing the 50% share in the total life calculated. If suppose the life of the component is 10 to the power 4 cycles, in that let us say 5000 cycles for elastic, 5000 cycles for the plastic deformation, equal share, 50%. So that amplitude or the life at where you can get the same effect for either case is known to be the transition life. Okay. The life at which elastic and the plastic part or component of the strain life equations are equal. So this part here in this diagram, this is where influence of both the curves are equal. The curve is equidistant, the actual curve is equidistant from either case, either individual case. So that is where we say it is a transition life. That amount of life for a given material is the transition life. Okay. So therefore, equating the elastic and the plastic part of the total life equation, we had total life is plastic, elastic plus the plastic portion. So elastic portion and the plastic portion, if both are giving the same amount of influence on the total life, then we are going to equate this epsilon elastic equal to epsilon plastic. So that is what is done here. Okay. So from the strain life equation, just to substitute, rearrange, we are going to obtain the expression for transition life. The life at which the elastic and the plastic part effect is equal. It depends on the applied load magnitude. That means this will give you the load magnitude at which you can operate the component so that it can give you the best configuration either side. Okay. So what is observed from these equations? If the component has to survive for short life, then obviously we are applying higher load. Plastic part, the plastic deformation in the material is more, and that part dominates compared to the elastic part. If we want to achieve the lives greater than the transition life, okay, in this graph we can see this is the transition life region. If we want to achieve for a component, if you want to achieve the life greater than this, greater than 2nt, then you have to apply low amount of load. The effect of elastic part has to dominate. If we are applying a load such that we are getting the total life less than transition life, then plastic part dominance is more. You cannot ignore the plastic part dominance. Okay. So for lives, if you want to achieve for the component greater than 2NF, we say we are talking about the long high cycle fatigue, long fatigue life, or HCF, high cycle fatigue. So if you are expecting at an applied load, if you are expecting component to give you the lives greater than the transition life, then you can use SN approach. That is the idea. That is the significance of determining this. Instead of spending a lot of effort on the strain life approach, if at all you identify that applied load can give you the life greater than the transition life for a material, then we can go ahead with the SN approach calculation for all further determinations, so that we can save our effort and time, because elastic part dominates more. Influence of fatigue plastic part is less. Therefore, approximately we can obtain the similar answer. Approximately, not exact. Better answer, strain life approach always provides. But for the effort we have to put, we are making some adjustment, some compromise, and we are okay with the SN approach. But if the life of the component is less than transition life, if the component life is less than the transition life, this is 2NT. If you are expecting life in this particular region, then you cannot apply high cycle fatigue approach. SN approach cannot be applied. Mandatorily, we have to apply the strain life approach. We have to apply strain life approach in this region. Therefore, earlier, in case of high cycle fatigue discussion, we have written here 10 to the power 3 and 10 to the power 6 for a steel material, and we have drawn this curve, SN diagram earlier. And in general, we have stated above this is high cycle fatigue, lower this is, then that is a low cycle fatigue region. This is not true always. 10 to the power 3, we cannot take it as a fixed point. This point, how to decide where to apply low cycle fatigue and where to apply high cycle fatigue approach, this decision has to come from the transition life. So for any given material, first check that what is the transition life, and then determine whatever the applied load you are using, whether it is going to give you the life greater than the transition life or less than the transition life. Then choose the appropriate methodology. You see, this is what is required from your end as a designer. Equations are there. High cycle fatigue equations also there, low cycle fatigue equations are also there. You have the data handbook, everything with you. But before using, as a designer, you have to verify which methodology to use and why. You have to justify. For industry, it is cost, time is cost, effort is cost. Okay. Then how you can best balance? That is what you have to plan as a designer. It is kind of same way how we will do in case of static design. What is our aim? Our aim is to achieve hardness along with the toughness, or rather than saying hardness, strength and toughness. Because as hardness increases, strength also increases. That is known fact. Therefore, strength and toughness. As an engineer, we want strong material which can sustain severe high loads. At the same time, we want tough material which can absorb that energy, which can absorb that shock. We cannot take, just because we want strong material, high hard material, which will become brittle and sudden load will collapse the structure. We want toughness also. We want strength also. That balance need to be achieved. Same way here, before deciding which approach to use and why, you have to see. Okay. So strain life approach you use, you are at the safer end. There is no second thought about it. You are at the safer end. Even in high cycle fatigue region, you can apply strain life approach. There is no problem with that. Nobody will ask you not to apply. But in case of industrial scenario, you have to verify and see the difference in the results you are obtaining for the defined life. Is it significant or not? If it is non-significant, then you go with the lesser effortful approach. If the difference is significant, then you should not use the SN approach, Baskin equation. You have to rely with the low cycle fatigue approach, that is the strain life approach. Even in the high cycle fatigue region, you have to stick to low cycle fatigue approach, that is strain life approach. Strain life approach, either way we can use, but not the SN approach. I think now that concept is very clear to you, which were earlier in our chapter 2, we have only mentioned about it. High cycle fatigue approach can be used only in the high cycle fatigue region. Theoretically or ideally, based on our observation, this is for steels actually. For steels, this term, 10 to the power 3 to 10 to the power 6, but not necessarily. Today's research, if you see, people have observed that even up to 10 to the power 4, even lives between 10 to the power 3, 10 to the power 4, the SN approach is not giving the best result. Only approximate behavior we can predict, and better is the strain life approach. Only above 10 to the power 5, only above 10 to the power 5 and greater cycles, SN approach and the strain life approach can approximately give you the similar values, similar or very close values, not the same. Okay. And between the 10 to the power 4 to 10 to the power 5 cycle regime, it is still a debatable question whether to go with strain life approach or the stress life approach. It depending on various aspects a company requires. What is the level of accuracy you want to achieve when you tell to your customer our component is going to give you this much cycles precisely, and is it worth to put that much of effort? Based on that you have to take a call. Okay, but in general less than 10 to the power 3, definitely SN approach not a suitable method. If you use and design a component with the SN approach for a life less than 10 to the power 3, ultimately it is a disaster. Okay. Greater than 10 to the power 3 in general we may use, but recommended is to use SN approach above 10 to the power 4 number of cycle. It depends on metal to metal or alloy to alloy. Composites some other value, it is not the same value, it varies. So material knowledge is important here, not simply choosing these values, when to use, when not to use. It depends on the material behavior. For several material like brittle materials, we may have to take strain life approach to a much deeper side. Ductile material, we can start SN approach maybe somewhere 10 to the power 4 onwards for ductile material, or even 10 to the power 3 onwards for ductile material. So there are several such cases. Or for the brittle material we may take from the high cycle fatigue approach, and low cycle fatigue approach we may leave. It depends on what application, what is the type of load you are expecting, what is the mode of failure you are expecting. The mode of failure is also very critical, whether it is shear, whether it is compression failure or crushing, whether it is tensile type of failure, what type of failure, what causes that failure. All that matters. Based on that we have to take a call. Okay. So these are just a few points which you can keep it in mind when you use these approaches in the future. Okay. These points about transition life and all. So transition life decreases with increasing hardness. Increasing hardness means material is getting more and more brittle. So in a brittle material there is not much of plasticity. Therefore the transition life where plastic elastic part dominance is a breakup, that zone is going to reduce. Okay. So these are all few points which I already explained. Any doubts are there, you can ask me. Same is there in your handouts which I have given. You read that, and anything you are not getting you can ask me. This is all about the explanation I have provided. Anything specific I have left? I think all I have discussed. Ultimate strength of the material increases, transition, this is all about the hardness only. Ultimate strength increases if the hardness increases. Okay, elastic strain dominates, all that discussion. Okay, fine. And a compromise is must. This is also I have addressed. Okay. Now failure of a component, there are many ways to tell. Complete separation, development of a crack of some defined length, or loss of load carrying capability in the material. So several parameters, how you want to represent failure. So this discussion we had in the first chapter, when to call it is a failure, how to identify the failure, and what are the failure modes. This is what we have discussed in the first chapter. You can recall that discussion. Fine, we'll go ahead. So usually we want to achieve a balance between the ductility, strength, and the toughness. Okay. Or I can even add hardness. We can talk about even the hardness. These are the common properties for a material. Whenever you are going to choose for an engineering application, we are looking for the material properties and then we are choosing. Now what is observed at transition life, usually we find a balance between these, and anywhere you go either side, we are finding a drastic deviation in those properties. So this is one more significance of determining the transition life, because a transition life, what load you can apply for a material, it is almost like for a optimized material property condition. At that load, we can find the best relationship between the major properties which we will use for the material selection. Okay, this is another application or significance of knowing the transition life. Okay, fine. Then factor of 2 is not a big issue. Only thing is, in the case of hysteresis curve and the life curve, as I have explained, we write here delta epsilon by 2. Now delta epsilon by 2 is a strain range. Delta epsilon is the strain range. Sorry, this is strain range. Delta epsilon strain range. Strain range divided by 2 is the amplitude. Strain amplitude. Okay. So this is what is meant by here. We are just identifying where and all 2 comes in the denominator or in the numerator of an equation. Then we write here sigma f dash by E, and here again 2NF. That means we are writing in terms of the reversals. 2NF plus epsilon f dash into 2NF to the power B. So this 2, here we are highlighting about these 2's, where and all it will come in the equation. You should not miss out. Now whenever you are using 2 in a problem definition, let us say if it is giving a life of 100 cycles, in a problem definition it is said that it is at a defined strain amplitude, it is giving you 100 cycles life. Maybe let us say at 0.01 strain amplitude it is giving 100 cycles. Then you substitute, when you are substituting in this equation, you should substitute 50, not 100. You have to substitute 50 because, sorry, 100 cycles, no, NF. That means 2 times of the 200, 2 times of the reversals. 100 cycles have 200 reversals. Okay. So this is one complete cycle, one cycle. Reversals means, say this is 1/2, one reversal, and the next reversal, 2 reversals. Okay. So we have to substitute in the equation accordingly. This is what you have to remember. For that purpose, here it is mentioned factor of 2. And when it is written strain amplitude, please make a note of this word, what is mentioned, whether strain amplitude is mentioned or strain range is mentioned. If strain range is mentioned, to get the amplitude, we have to divide with 2. So that is why it is factor of 2. Okay. So about this, using reversals or using cycles. Okay. Usually in stress life method, we have N. We do not write 2NF. In strain life approach, we write 2NF, reversals. You know now why it is required, that distinction. Then about the amplitude versus range, you know now. Okay. When cyclic stress strain curve versus hysteresis curve, the difference between hysteresis curve. Okay. Now many a time what happens, just because you missed out substituting in terms of reversals, answer become totally different. Okay. Or you forget to divide the range by 2 to write the amplitude, because our Ramberg-Osgood equation, sigma A total, if you use sigma by E plus sigma by K to the power 1 by N, Ramberg-Osgood equation. Here also it is amplitude. In case of strain life approach, this hysteresis diagram, delta epsilon by 2, this is nothing but epsilon A is equal to delta sigma by 2E plus delta sigma by 2K to the power 1 by N. So there are 2's all the places. So this must be observed. Okay, what is so, and carefully must be substituted the values to get the right answer. Okay, so that is what is mentioned here. Now let us look into how to obtain the properties B, C and etc. Earlier you see in our stress life approach, we have written no, B is equal to minus 1 by 3 log of S 10 to the power 3 divided by SE. We had this equation. Similarly, A is equal to 0.9 SU divided this whole square divided by SC. We have used this empirical relation in the absence of data. If data is given, so A we can assume as true fracture strength sigma F dash. We can also take SU plus 50 KSI. These are all various ways how we have taken the values earlier in case of Baskin equation. We had SNF is equal to A NF to the power B. In the absence of values and all, we have used these methods to obtain the value. So that is what is now explained here. We are giving some points now so that you can understand what value we can select, what within what range you can choose a value, how to interpret the obtained value is right for a given problem. Okay. Now, first of all, make a note that the values what we discuss here are mostly for the steel and may not be true or valid for other materials. This is the basic. Again and again I am repeating. It is because we do not have sufficient data in the open domain much. One. Secondly, steels are the most widely used structural materials for most of the engineering components even to date, despite the advancement in composite materials and other type of alloys. Steel still stands out to be the optimum choice compared with the cost. And we are talking here with respect to the cost. Properties you might have excellent property other materials. You have carbon fiber based composite material, very great strength, tensile strength. But what about other lateral directional strength? It is questionable. Okay. So in composite material, you have a limitation. You might use a fibers of extreme strength, but what about the matrix which holds that? So the functionality in a composite material is also limited by the matrix, we can say in that way, or interaction between the matrix and the fibers or filaments what we use. The interaction strength restrict the extreme development of the composite. People go with the metal matrix composites now. All that are several times the composition of the alloys or those composites itself is patented. One cannot copy, especially if we talk about the Inconel and several nickel superalloys. Several organizations has their composition patented that nobody can use that in a free world. Specifically developed for aircraft materials, high strength material, superalloys. They have similar like how you say Superman. Who is Superman? Having powers more than a common man. Correct, no? So same way, we have some super special properties we can get, especially high elevated temperature behavior. That is why we say these nickel alloys as superalloy. They are hard. They can retain their property at very high temperature, which our general conventional alloys cannot do. Okay. Most of the alloys cannot do. At high temperature, materials lose their strength. They flow easily. Where nickel or some titanium alloys also are of a special category which can retain their strength even at high temperature. That makes them, or that is why we call them as super alloys. Best possible performance they provide. Okay. So these are all some points which you have to keep in mind when we talk about the certain values. Who will provide us with the properties? So tomorrow you go to an industry, you have well-established laboratory, you have the data, access to data source, you have to use that particular data. That is why I'm highlighting. Don't rely on this data. This is only to make you aware how to use the relationship, how to find the data. You think in that way. Do not get stuck to only these data or these discussions. You have to take it to the next level where you get the access, where you have, when you have the access, do not rely on the same values, but you must know the procedure. You must understand when to use, where to use, and why to use. If you discuss that, you convince about this as a designer to your entire team, you can go ahead with your design. There is no problem with that. Okay. So not all materials may be represented with the 4-parameter equation we have. This is one of the important thing you should understand. Say SN approach we were using. Then we started with the strain life approach. I said strain life approach would be much better than that. But still strain life approach we have sigma F dash by E. What is 4-parameter? 4-parameter means this. One is this parameter. Then 2NF to the power B. So this B parameter. Plus epsilon F dash, the ductility coefficient. Epsilon F dash is the next parameter, and 2NF here, that power C. So these 4 parameters, B, C, epsilon F dash and sigma F dash, these parameter based this strain life equation, first of all, cannot be used or cannot be considered ultimate. This is the only solution throughout. So many material behavior cannot be predicted by this 4-parameter equation. This you have to understand. So you see one note is also provided. Example of these, some high strength aluminum alloys and titanium alloys do not obey this law itself. The formulation of this equation itself is invalid for that material. Then forget about using those values for the parameter. Okay, so there are certain restrictions. In the complete absence of data, you can still use. People are using because there are not other efficient methods, or they use certain correction factors after using this, or take some factor of safety. This is one of the efficient equation we have in the strain life approach. One of the efficient equation. There are others also. Okay, this is the most basic, the initial equation for the strain life approach. But keep in mind, it is not universal, always cannot be adopted. Each equation comes with its own limitation. Okay. Now about this point, already you are aware now, the 4 fatigue constants actually represents the curve fit, you know, slope of the curve and the interceptor that I already explained. Let us not waste time there. Okay. Now fatigue constants are determined from a set of data points over a given range. So what values we are going to give you, or earlier you have seen with the graph, I said B value is going to vary between minus 0.05 to minus 0.12. This is the range of it is varying. This is for steel material, what we are writing. And you know, in steel, there are more than 1,000, 2,000 categories of steels available. Not all the steels also follow the same value. Mild steel you will get different, high strength steel you will find different, alloy steel you will find some other. Okay, so we have to make a note that gross errors may occur when extrapolating fatigue life estimates outside the given range. So using these equations straightforward with some other values also not recommended. Only between the given range we may use these particular equations. Now use of power law relationship. Power law relationship means Baskin equation. 2.14 means earlier we have written Baskin equation. Delta sigma by 2 or stress amplitude is equal to sigma F dash 2nf to the power b, Paskin equation. And here plastic strain equation or Coffin-Manson equation, true fracture ductility coefficient, and 2nf to the power c, slope of the curve c. Okay, b means these total equations. Okay, so these power laws are used for the mathematical convenience. Okay, and not based on the physical phenomena. This is very important to understand. Physical phenomena, many a time I am discussing here several physical phenomena. I was discussing with you what is the reason for such a behavior, and we will find the answer at microscopic level. What is the grain boundary interaction? What is the crystal structure or the plane which slides? What are the defect and what is the size of the defects? What is the nature of the defect, whether it is a point defect, vacancy defect, substitutional defect or interstitial defect, which causes the material to move. Okay, the strain hardening phenomena, what causes that? So such physical phenomena are not modeled in this equation. In this equation only strength is modeled and response to strength to strain. Strength to strain response is modeled here. How the material responds to the applied load, that is only modeled in this power law. This power law do not actually governs the actual physical process what is going on at microscopic level. If you want to adopt that in this equation, it is not possible. It is so much factors. It is a function of function. So many parameters. Every parameter is related one with the other. How you capture that? How you measure that? Okay. So these are the few challenges which a fatigue design engineer has to overcome, and he must understand his limitation. Within that, he has to solve, he has to provide the solution. So out of the available option, what we can do. Okay. So one expression we have here from the K dash, the fatigue strength coefficient K dash and N dash. So this is actually dash here. Okay, this N dash and K dash. I think dash has become a straight line. Okay. So earlier we have used these expressions. Strain hardening exponent N dash and strength coefficient K dash. We had this expression beginning of this particular chapter before we talk to Ramberg-Osgood relationship, monotonic stress strain properties, and in the last class we have solved a numerical also to obtain this. So K dash N dash we can obtain by this formula B and C, and here true fracture strength with the ductility coefficient epsilon F dash. See, we have Ramberg-Osgood equation, we have to use this sigma by E plus sigma by K and 1 by N. Okay, so you put, if it is a cyclic, you put dash or K. In the absence of cyclic property, we assume that K is equal to K dash, N is equal to N dash. Absence of data only. Okay, absence of data, we assume this. This is the assumption. Remember, assumption, not a true things. This I already discussed. We have plotted the stress versus strain curve. Just I am recalling. You have the monotonic curve, monotonic static test curve. You have CSSC curve. CSSC curve, which goes above or below. We have all discussed about the various possibilities, cyclic hardening, cyclic softening, all that. We have CSSC curve. The curve relating to the monotonic is K and N. The equation relating to the CSSC is K dash and N dash. So K dash and N dash we can determine by this formula. N dash is B by C, K dash is epsilon F dash by sigma F dash by epsilon F dash to the power N dash. These equations we can use to determine the these parameters. So we also require this here for the hysteresis equation. Whenever we want to plot the hysteresis curve, 2 K dash and 1 by N dash. And then we want B, C, epsilon F dash for the life estimation. Epsilon A is equal to sigma f dash by E 2NF to the power B plus epsilon f dash 2NF to the power C. So we require these constant values. So one or the other data is given to you in the numerical, in the problem. You use all these relations and try to determine the other. Okay. Fine. So fatigue strength coefficient, epsilon f dash. In the absence of data, we will assume SU plus 50 KSI for steels with hardness below 500 BHN. This is important. If the steel is above 500 BHN, Brinell hardness number, BHN, Brinell, you know, in your strength of material laboratory, you have used that. We assume that true fracture strength is almost equivalent to the fracture strength corrected for the necking. This fracture strength is engineering, but we will correct it for the necking and obtain that. This value is actually greater than SU, ultimate strength. This value would be definitely greater than the ultimate strength of the material after correction. So obtaining true fracture strength is difficult. Then this is one more assumption we can talk about. Then B value varies between this range 0.05 to minus 0.12. For most metals, it is observed by practical. What is the available data in the open domain? Based on that, we are getting somewhere around minus 0.085. And it is always recommended to use all these digits, all this decimal. You see, it sits as a power, 2NF to the power. Okay. 2NF to the power B. And that too, it is a negative value, minus 0.085. Do not ignore this third decimal if it is given to you or if you obtain. Even it is minus 0.081, do not ignore this one. It is going to have significant effect because this is a power law. It is sitting at the top, negative exponential. It is an exponential increase. Exponential relationships, you cannot ignore the decimal approximation. That will result in lot of variation in the result. So please follow in exam at least 3 decimal or greater approximation if it is given in the data, or if you are calculating and determining, please find more than 3 decimal approximation. Do not reduce this. Okay, do not round it up. Instead of 0.8, do not take it as 0.1. Totally different value you will get. Do not make it round figure. Okay, because it sits as a power law at the top, the power exponential increase, and that too it is negative. Negative sign, lot of, that means 1 by that power denominator. Lot of change you will obtain with the result. Therefore, please use the given value as it is, or when you calculate, please make an effort to consider 3 decimal approximation when you solve a numerical. Okay. Then about the B, we have already discussed in SN, that is low cycle fatigue, high cycle fatigue chapter 2. So I'll not explain now further anything there. Fatigue ductility coefficient, we can take corrected for necking same way as the strength, which we can calculate from this formula. RA is the percentage reduction in the cross-sectional area. ln of percentage reduction in the cross-sectional area. This formula is straightforward. Measurement of ductility, how we will represent the ductility of a material. Basic strength of material relation. We have solved a problem also with this in the last class. In Bannatyne and Julie book, I have given you one homework, one self-study derivation, which is from the basic of the strength of material. So you can look into there. This derivation for this expression is there. Here we only want this relation. Okay. Now about parameter C, we want to determine the constant C. As I have mentioned earlier, Coffin from his experiments, several experiments conducted on the concerned material, a category of steel, he found out that the value lies as minus 0.5. Then what Manson has found out? Manson from his work understood that the value will lie between minus 0.6. And then comes Morrow And Morrow found out that this C is going to vary between this range minus 0.5 to minus 0.7. Okay, so we have relationship plastic strain amplitude epsilon f dash into 2nf to the power C. This equation is known as Coffin-Manson equation. Coffin-Manson power law. Coffin-Manson relation. Work together, one person obtains C 0.5, one obtains minus 0.6, and then comes the Morrow. In a high cycle fatigue also you heard this name, Morrow's criteria, mean stress correction criteria. So we had Soderberg criteria, Goodman criteria, Gerber criteria, and then comes the Morrow criteria. So the same person, he identified that the value of C, which is nothing but slope of the curve, plastic strain to the life of the component curve, its slope is coming somewhere around 0.5 to 0.7. So in the absence of data, what you can do? You may assume this value of C as minus 0.6, which is mentioned here. Okay, already it is there. Minus 0.6. If it is not given in the problem definition, you assume C value to be minus 0.6. If the parameters are given to determine this, you determine and then use. If not given, how to assume? We may assume like this. We may also follow a thumb rule that for ductile materials, fairly ductile materials, where the strain epsilon f dash, the strain in the material is equal to about 1. For strong material means the brittle materials, hard materials, where strain rate is less, you can find the C value is probably minus 0.5. So this gives you an idea now why Coffin found it as to be minus 0.5 and why Manson found it to be minus 0.6. Now you have your answer. It is not that they use different method, they use the same similar principle, everything. They use different material. Coffin might have used the harder material, and with reference to his work, he used harder steel materials. He stated that no, this C value comes out to be 0.5. Manson used little bit softer, moderately ductile material, and he said no, the value will come to be minus 0.6. And then Morrow came, he studied on variety of material, and this person said the value will lies between 0.5 to minus 0.7. This is science. Engineering, science will grow. There is no guarantee that anyone's answer is right. Within the frame they define, within the assumption, they are right. But it is not universal. So now, based on their experiment, because of their lot of work that scientists, those engineers have been put in the past, we have the data today, which we can take and which we can put it for our application. Okay. So this data you can use in the problem solving whenever you are using the problem solving, or for your own material, if you want to determine, you follow the work of these people, study their work, how they have done, what they have done, do it similarly for your new material, determine these values and then use it so that your design become much more precise. Okay, fine. This is about hysteresis diagram. Okay, this is all we have discussed. So importantly, the strain-based approach unifies the treatment of low cycle and high cycle fatigue. Now I think you have clear-cut differentiation between when to call high cycle fatigue and when to call low cycle fatigue. Earlier we used to say greater than 10 to the power 3 use high cycle fatigue and less than that use low cycle fatigue. But it is not true always. It depending on material to material, and we have now understood the better approach is to say using the transition life, considering transition life of the material as a best cutoff between the decision of making or considering the things as high cycle fatigue and the low cycle fatigue type. Okay, and strain life approach you can even apply to long life applications, well known now. Only thing is the dominance of the plastic part reduces, and if you ignore that plastic part term, it is nothing but the Baskin equation. Plastic part dominance is not there, or if you ignore the plastic part in the strain life equation, That means it is nothing but a Baskin equation. There is nothing new in that. Okay. So it is the same. So this is all about the strain life approach. So strain based approach is a comprehensive approach which can be applied to both low cycle, high cycle fatigue regime, and it can give you better result than the SN approach. That is well known now. Okay, fine. The next is to discuss about the mean stress effect. How we can incorporate mean stress effect in this life equation. In case of high cycle fatigue or SN approach, we had several mean stress correction equations. Soderberg criteria, Goodman criteria, Gerber criteria, Morrow criteria. So here we cannot use the same equation. Those equations are developed for the high cycle fatigue regime, elastic stress related aspect. Here there is also plastic part. So we have to modify the strain life equation to suit for this particular theory. Strain life equation has to be modified. And other discussion about this I already had a few class back. That is mean stress relaxation, where we discuss cyclic hardening, cyclic softening, and after that class I have discussed about that mean stress relaxation effect. Whether the mean strain is having the dominance or whether the mean stress is having the dominance. Mean strain do not usually have the significant impact, but the mean stress has the effect, provided that mean stress is not relaxing or not completely relaxed under the applied strain amplitude. So this is the discussion we had at that time. Okay. So mean strain usually has negligible effect because cycle after cycle it gets increased, strain is getting increased, whereas mean stress has a significant effect provided it is not getting relaxed with the applied mean strain. Okay, so the strain life diagram similar to the SN diagram. Earlier we have drawn SN diagram and we plotted the curve without mean. R is equal to -1 stress ratio curve. If there was a mean stress, we used to draw a curve above. Sorry, curve we used to draw below. We used to draw a curve below. Shifted. The strength has been decreased. Some R value positive, tensile. Some plus 0.8. Tensile. Then tension compression or compression type of R value. Again positive R, but compression loading, because R is sigma max by sigma minimum in case of stress life approach. So same way we can shift the strain life curve. Here we are having, you see, strain life curve. Strain life approach we say strain life curves. SN approach we say stress life curves. Stress versus life curve. Here strain versus the life curve. So depend, if the tensile mean stress is there in the component, then the life of the component is going to decrease. If compressive mean stresses are there, as we said earlier, compressive mean stresses are better, provided it comes with a clause, provided your application is tensile in nature. Okay. So this is what about the relaxation of mean stress. Earlier I have discussed in the slides number 32 to 35 when we discussed about the cyclic hardening and cyclic softening. So I will not explain anything here right now. Directly we will go to various theories what we are having. Okay. So similar to that you had Morrow, Goodman, Gerber, Soderberg criteria, etc. Here we have strain life correction criteria given by Morrow, Manson and Halford, O.G. Miller marine approach, and the Smith, Watson and Topper model. Okay. In that, what is highlighted with the blue color, only these two we will see as far as your syllabus is concerned, where other 2 and 3 are not quite often used. Okay, I will only highlight about the two models as far as your syllabus is there. Morrow's mean stress correction criteria and Smith-Watson relation. We will look into what is the limitation of both, why we want Smith-Watson. So in this series, we may say the Morrow's criteria to be the primary, the basic, most basic people often use if there is a mean stress correction, we have to take care, and Smith-Waston relationship to be the toppest possible increase with the increasing complexity types. Okay, therefore I'm not explaining anything about Manson-Halford or Ozy-Miller. Each equation has its own advantage, its own disadvantage. Some material we can use that, some material we cannot use that. See, this is what is the difficulty in the fatigue. Equations are there, but question is, can we use that equation for our material, for our component, for the type of load we are using? They are all sensitive. These equations are sensitive to the applied load magnitude, the material property. So it is not that easy to come to a conclusion straightforward that we will use this for a given application. It is not that easy in the case of fatigue. It requires a lot of experience, a lot of designs without equation, trial and errors. Most of the work in fatigue is trial and error based. From that we understand, we get a experience, get a knowledge, and then you can decide. Then also you cannot say it is like this only, you cannot say as a straight hard fast rule. You may say it could be because of this, look into this phenomena, look into that phenomena, like this you can advise. Okay, it is very difficult in case of fatigue because every time it is not the same, it depending on several parameters, several factors, starting from the manufacturing till you put it in the service and during the service condition. The conditions, applied loading, environment, operator, or what is the previous history, if there is a small crack or small scratch also on the component than what you thought of during your design, that can also lead to the failure in the real time. So there are many things. Here we are looking into the mean stress things now. Okay, if there is a mean stress in the component, then which equation to use? We cannot use the previous equation what we have discussed. There is no provision to adopt the mean stress. Okay, please make a note of that. The strain life approach equation we had epsilon f dash sigma f dash by E into 2nf to the power B plus epsilon f dash into 2nf to the power C. This is a strain life equation, the Coffin-Manson and the Baskin based equation. In this equation, there is no mean stress effect. Now, what we know by practice is, once the material plastically deforms, there is no mean stress. Once the material is deformed means stress is relaxed. Stress gets relaxed. So therefore, the general understanding is mean stress is going to dominate in the elastic part. So this discussion we had earlier in our previous classes when we had discussed the mean stress relaxation. Okay. So mean stress is of severe influence in the elastic domain compared to the plastic part. Okay. That is the reason Morrow has incorporated the mean stress term in the elastic region. We look into the Morrow's equation. So you see the Morrow's criteria, he has incorporated here. Instead of sigma f dash by E, the true fracture strength by E, this true fracture strength has been corrected by the by the magnitude of that of mean stress. So what is true fracture strength? When you load a component, under static load, what is the fracture stress at instantaneous area or at that particular area? At a defined instantaneous area, what is the stress in the material? That is your fracture stress when the material is getting fractured. Whatever is the mean stress is there, it is nothing but the static stress effect. Okay. So correct that. Your true strength of the material is coming down. That is what Morrow says. You interpret the physical meaning of the equation. Don't simply look into the equation. Okay. So interpret the physical meaning of the equation and then decide. Don't see for the terms. What is this term actually means? This term indicates the mean stress. Mean stress means static strength of the material. So when you are starting to load a material, starting to load a material, and you say this is the true fracture strength, sigma f dash. Now take one more material which is already pre-stressed, some mean stress is already there. Some mean stress is already there over which you are applying the additional load. I will draw here only, maybe with like this. Mean stress is already there. Then component will fail here. Already some magnetic stress is there. With the stress component you are loading. That is what is the Morrow's explanation. Therefore, in Morrow's criteria, you find the mean stress correction here. So our general equation is epsilon A sigma f dash E 2nf to the power b plus ductility coefficient epsilon f dash 2nf to the power c. So here to the fracture stress, instead of sigma f dash, you have to use sigma f dash minus what is the magnitude of the mean stress. Either you use sigma naught or sigma m. The notation do not matter. You see both notations are given. Sigma naught or sigma m both indicates the mean stress. Reduce the material strength by the term mean stress. How much value the mean stress is having. That is what is Morrow's equation. Okay. So here you can observe the effect of mean stress. You have the actual curve, and because of the Morrow's equation, you can see the elastic line is shifting. This is the original elastic line. Sigma f dash by E. The below one, this portion, what is shifted is sigma f dash minus epsilon naught by E, or epsilon mean by E, the new intercept. The intercept here is this, already it is written here, okay, already it is there, okay. That much amount, the curve has been reduced, and therefore you can see the dashed line here. The life equation, this was the life equation without mean, where epsilon f dash by E 2nf to the power b plus epsilon f dash into 2nf to the power c. Okay, this is the equation. What about this new line, dashed line here? That is what is the Morrow's equation. After incorporating Morrow's equation, you can see because of the elastic part, in the elastic region the dominance is more. You can see curve is approaching towards the new shifted line. Where in the plastic part, the influence of mean stress is less. The previous equation is still valid. You can observe somewhere here a diversion is taking place. Okay. So this equation is represented by the Morrow. Epsilon f dash minus sigma mean divided by E 2nf to the power b plus epsilon f dash 2nf to the power c. Okay. So this is about the Morrow's criteria. Now what Smith-Watson and Topper says, commonly referred as SWT relation. Now what happens as per the Morrow, the plastic side, though he says the stress is getting relaxed, it is not known to be the right way. The equation was still not giving you the correct prediction when you compare with the practical case. Practically, when you test the component with that mean stress and load it with some cyclic load from there with the mean, the real behavior or the real life what you observe is not as predicted by the Morrow's equation. And that is why a Smith-Watson relation can be known to be give you better approximation or better representation of the Smith-Watson, the mean stress, because here you see the elastic part is not totally, only the elastic part is not considered. The entire equation has been modeled in case of Smith-Watson relation, mean stress correction criteria. Okay, so let us look into this equation. Here these equations have been superimposed. We have the Baskin equation, elastic equation, and this equation has to be multiplied to this equation, entire equation. To this entire equation, the Baskin equation has been multiplied. Smith-Watson has done only that much. Multiply the strain life equation by the stress life equation. By multiplying that, what we get? Here, sigma max, you can see here, that is nothing but the stress amplitude. Sigma max into delta epsilon by 2, this is nothing but the epsilon A. And when you multiply the Baskin equation, earlier it was single, now its power will raise 2. Similarly, here again only the Baskin equation terms. So this is nothing but sigma f dash and 2nf to the power b is the Baskin equation, multiply by epsilon f dash 2nf to the power c is the Coffin-Manson equation. So altogether now this equation. Here earlier we had sigma f dash by e into 2nf to the power b. This has to be multiplied again with the same equation, sigma f dash by e into 2nf to the power b. So that is what is these relationships are. So denominator can be taken to the other end. That is what is done here. Epsilon max, sigma max, e. Okay. Where this particular sigma max is known to be alternating stress amplitude and the mean load. We have to apply alternating stress amplitude plus mean load here into this equation when we solve the numerical. Okay, that is what we have to do. Okay, we'll end up here. One point, since Smith-Watson equation in its general form, if you do this, is proportional to life. Okay. Now this life estimation becomes negative if the applied sigma max is negative. That means what? Here in this equation, if we have tension compression load such that it can give us the negative value. So here we are having some negative values, or we have compressive mean stress. This equation can be useful if we have the tensile mean stress. If we have the compressive mean stress or compressive alternating load, which can overcome the mean load, then this equation cannot be adopted, because you can see life, you can see all square terms. If you take these square terms, life is actually proportional to the left hand side, LHS. E is a constant, Young's modulus. So left hand side is proportional to the life here, straightforward proportion. But if it is negative, then this equation becomes, non-solvable. Okay. Therefore, this is the limitation. You have to see that the sigma max should not be negative. So this equation cannot be used for the larger compressive stresses as a mean. So the mean stress equation is empirically based, and hence care must be taken to use it in the appropriate given range. Okay. With this point, I will stop our discussion. Today's discussion. I will share the assignment link. You can answer that and you can leave from the class.